Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer with 38 years experience in the business and 25,000 clients worldwide. It's my pleasure to welcome you to my website and to my teachings. Now, you've come to my website in order to get your horoscope done, and you are to be congratulated for being a believer in astrology, because science tells us that the planets can have no impact upon us, that astrology is a load of hogwash. And what they're not taking into consideration and what their instruments can't measure is the emotional level of energy and the emotional level of consciousness, and also the mental level of energy and the mental level of consciousness. So the religions of the world are all telling us that astrology is evil and the work of the devil and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of people in the world, the vast majority, who are atheistic in their thinking, or religious in their thinking, or scientific in their thinking, and therefore don't relate to astrology. But you're relating to astrology, and you are to be congratulated. Now, astrology works because these planets are living energy forms, and they are emitting ray energies into your reality and into your consciousness. Now, these planets are having impact upon you, and impacting upon you in three main areas of your life. The three main areas that you're concerned about is your sense of security, and that comes through financial security, but also emotional and mental security, that you're not under threat from within and also from outside of yourself. And then there's the area of relationships. You want somebody to love, and you want somebody who will love you in return. And this is a major area of your life, because without relationships, whether it's relationships with people that you work with, relationships with relatives and neighbours, relationships with friends, relationships with children, relationships with loved ones, relationships with partners and spouse, relationships with business associates and so forth. These are all relationships, and your relationships are where you have an opportunity to communicate and to express your love, and also to receive love, and with the intimates in your life to be known and to be understood. These are all basic urges. And then the other one, the third one, is to do with the job. Meaningful work is a very, very important part of our sense of self-esteem and value fulfillment. Now, these planets are implementing cosmic law. They are implementing the will of the divine, what you might say. God and Goddess have got certain plans for you, and those plans are wonderful to help you to become more of who you really are through a multiplicity of lifetimes that you experience here in a space-time rule set that we know as Earth. So it's very, very exciting when you start getting into astrology more deeply, on the aspects of the spiritual side of it, and the science of meditation and reincarnation. I've written 2 books on these subjects that I'm happy to share with you in printed format, sent to you by email, or audio format with my voice and backing mystical music to take you in and out of meditation time and time again, to help you to become more of who you really are. But what we're focusing on here is your horoscope, and what I'm going to be looking at is those 3 areas of your life: your security, your relationships, and your work and employment and business and career, meaningful work. Okay, so what we have is we've got the 12 houses of the horoscope are segments of your life. And the events and conditions of your life are fitted into these 12 different categories. So you've got the first house of self-initiated efforts, you've got the second house of security and finances, the third house of communication with those close to you like relatives and neighbours, the fourth house of the home environment and the family and those who share the home environment with you, and the fifth is the segment of children and entertainments and amusements, sports, and also the sexual side of life and romance before love, romance before marriage, romance before you get serious and so forth. Then there's the sixth segment, which is health and diet, and the way to keep yourself healthy is through meaningful employment, and that fits into that category as well, the job. Then there's the seventh area, which is to do with partnerships and spouse and those who are your close intimates. And then there is the eighth house of transformation and change within yourself and the area of death. Ninth house is higher education and travel and expansion of your consciousness through religious and philosophical studies and so forth, metaphysical studies. 10th house is ambitions and high achievements and career. 11th house is to do with friends and group social activities, other people's children. And the 12th house is the house of hospitals and institutions where you can have solitude and get it all together, introspect and reflect upon what you've learnt from the other 11 houses. So it's all very complex, but it's all also down to earth where you're living and where you're experiencing your life. Now, these planets that I'm going to be working on for you in this reading are Saturn, and that takes 2.5 years in its movement through the zodiac. As it passes through the houses of your horoscope, it takes 2.5 years in one house. And Saturn is implementing the law of economy. In other words, Saturn is going to be saying to you that there must be a usage of energy, emotional, physical and mental energy, must be used wisely and economically. Any misuse of that energy must bring a corresponding adjustment to your consciousness and awareness of that misuse. And so Saturn embodies that third ray of commerce and industry and business, and also practicality and the law of economy and the wise use of energy. And so as it sits in an area of your horoscope, it's going to have a different impact than what it will with somebody with another sign, with a different sign than you. It's in a different house of their horoscope than it is with you. And so you're going to be experiencing that for 2.5 years, errors that you've made in the usage of energy over the last 26 years are going to come home to roost. And you're going to be able to learn during that time about using energy wisely and economically and practically and planning your things out practically and so forth. This includes mental energy and emotional energy as well. So I'll be looking at Saturn for you and telling you what the impact of that is shortly, and I'll tell you a little bit about yourself as well. And then there's Jupiter. Jupiter embodies the second ray of love wisdom, and it is a beautiful planet in desiring to expand and to expand your consciousness and awareness to become more of who you really are. And it does this through love, it does this through relationships, and it does this through study, research and investigation, and it does this through education, and it does this through higher thinking and learning about God and Goddess's plans for all of us. And so Jupiter takes 12 months as it moves through a particular house of your horoscope. So it sits in a house for 12 months. So I'm going to be able to tell you what is Jupiter, what is the impact of Jupiter during 2014, and what you are experiencing now prior to moving into 2014 in your life through the impact of Jupiter. So it's sitting in one of your houses of your horoscope now, and I'll tell you what the impact is now, and also 2014 it's in a different house than what it is now. So I'll be able to tell you all about that, and how you can expand and grow and reach and stretch to become more of the giant that you truly are. And then there's Mars. Mars brings energy and will and sexual energy quite often into the area of your life where it's sitting, and it can bring conflict and tension and stress and anxiety and so forth. And I'm going to be looking at the movement of Mars in the first 6 months of 2014. It's sitting stationary in one particular house of your horoscope and introducing a lot of stresses and tensions into that area of your life. And so therefore you've got to deal with that. So this is what I'm going to be working on in your personal horoscope, which I'm going to be looking at shortly. And it's nice to have you here to be able to talk with you and to share with you some of my understanding about these things. And I do this for you free of charge because I want to be of service. I've seen the impact and the benefit that thousands of people have had through going through my intensives or getting extracts out of my books and so forth, and having astrology readings done by me. And so I want to help you to also grow and reach and stretch to become more of who you really are. And so that's what we're going to be looking at in your horoscope for you now. Now, you're a Cancerian person, and what I'm going to do for you now is to tell you a few things about the way that you interact, Cancer, with the events and conditions in your life. And I want you to bear in mind that this is a limited point of view because I'm only taking into consideration your sun sign and the signs on the cusp of the other 11 houses. And the way that you interact with these events and conditions in your life to bring about changes within yourself, that's a limited perspective that I'm able to do for you. With horoscope number 2, I'm able to go into things a lot more detailed for you because I'll be covering in that reading your planets in your houses and the planets in relationship with each other and the aspect that they form with each other and what houses that they rule and all sorts of things like that. So that's a lot more in depth for you personally, but this is just for your sun sign, and so therefore it's a limited perspective, plus the fact that a lot of the things that I talk about can be for the past and not a part of your life anymore. A lot can be for the future and therefore difficult to relate to. So it's a lifetime situation that I'm giving you here. So just sit back and relax. Now, being a Cancer person, you're a very emotional person. You've got a very strong attraction to the family and to the home and the domestic environment. And family means a lot to you. You're attracted towards the water, and so therefore you would have water near the home or a view of water. If not, you would have perhaps a swimming pool in the backyard and maybe pictures of the water in the house, photos of the water in the house, and also perhaps a fish tank and things like that. So you are attracted towards the water. You're very imaginative and very, very sensitive too. And you can have a tendency, because the crab is your symbol, you can have a tendency to crawl inside of yourself and sometimes be a little bit reserved. You do have the ability to commence and start things. You're very, very imaginative and highly sensitive to your environment conditions. Now, you do like to control your finances. You've got a lot of energy and a lot of fire to put into financial pursuits in your life. And you do communicate very carefully. You're very fussy and fastidious about what you say, and you measure every word that you say. And you're very careful with the car. You keep it nice and clean, and you keep all the records and so forth for services and everything like that. And you can be a little bit judgmental and critical at times. This is something that perhaps you've got to work on. Now, you do like to have music around the home, and you love to have a sense of balance and harmony around the home and the family side of life. And so you like to keep things calm in the home and evenly balanced between you and those who cohabitate with you in the home. Now, you're very highly sexed, and you seem to be attracted towards the water as far as the social side of life is concerned. You like being near the water, you like going to the beach, you like going to the pool or whatever, and you probably raised your children and teaching them how to swim and things like that as well. Any children in your life? Now, you do work with a number of people who were born overseas, and you do meet a lot of people who were born overseas, perhaps through your job, and you're very frank, straightforward and to the point when it comes to spiritual matters and political matters and religious matters with those that you work with and co-workers and so forth. And you seem to have had delays with regard to marriage, and maybe marriage to somebody older than yourself, and there seems to have been some sort of frustrations in life to do with a court case or some legal matters. Now, what I'm going to do for you, Cancer, is to have a look at the location of Saturn in your horoscope at the moment and into 2014, and tell you what sort of impact that has. Now, you have Saturn in the 5th house of your horoscope currently, and it will remain there for the whole of 2014. It's been there for the whole of 2013, so the description that I give you now will be something that you have been experiencing. Now, there has been a lot of frustrations somehow through children, any children in your life. There may have been illness of a child or a relative of a child. There could have been some problems with regard to the social side of life and the sexual side of life. Could have been causing concern for you in some way. Frustrations in regard to plans for the social activities in your life, delays and obstructions to plans and things like that. So your social life hasn't gone completely smoothly during 2013, nor your relationship with your children during 2013, and that will be the same in 2014. So you can expect a few frustrations with regard to plans for social activities and things like that. Sexual matters might be a bit obstructed, and it's not a good time for you for commencing and starting any new romance or love. If you're in the market for a relationship, it's a time for you to consolidate and reflect upon the things that you've learned over the last few years with regard to relationships. So get it all together, stabilise things as far as your children are concerned, stabilise your social life, and reflect and think about what you've learned about your dealings with your children and sexual matters and romantic matters and love matters and social matters generally. And you'll be doing what Saturn is trying to tell you, is that there's been a misuse of energy, and you want to be brought back into line with the law of economy. Now, as far as Jupiter is concerned, Jupiter, Cancer, is sitting in the first house of your horoscope, and that means that it's been sitting in the 12th house of your horoscope in 2013. Now, with Jupiter in the 12th house of your horoscope during 2013, that has brought a tremendous amount of gain for you through any work in hospitals or institutions, anything to do with having to go into hospital yourself or have any medical procedure in 2013, it's been very favourable for you. And there's been a great deal of love that you've been able to share with those who perhaps have been afflicted by being in hospital or having a lot of worries in their life. And 2013 has been a year for you to get a lot of benefit from solitude. So you've been able to introspect and reflect and bring about a lot of changes within yourself through solitude. And 2014 will see Jupiter going into the first house of your horoscope. Now, with Jupiter in the first house of your horoscope, it's a wonderful time for you, 2014, for personal interests and initiatives. It can see a distant journey for you, perhaps interstate or overseas, sometime in 2014. You'll find that you'll be very lucky during 2014. The things that you start will go well for you. It's a good time for commencing and starting new projects and ideas, for expanding your understanding. You'll have a tremendous urge to expand your understanding through study, research and investigation during 2014, and it's going to be a very good time for generally expanding yourself to new horizons and becoming more of who you really are. Now, as far as Mars is concerned, Cancer, Mars is in the 4th house of your horoscope in the first 6 months of 2014, and it's in a stationary position. Normally, Mars only stays in a house for 6 weeks, but you have it sitting there stationary in the 4th house of your horoscope for the first 6 months of 2014. Now, what sort of impact is that going to have upon you? Well, it's going to introduce a lot of stress and tension into the home and the family and the domestic side of life. So it's incumbent upon you to make sure that you keep things calm and cool in the home environment in the first 6 months of 2014. You will be susceptible to conflicts and arguments, and you could be a little bit impulsive or perhaps a little bit dominant and overriding in dominating those who share the home environment with you and those in the family side of things. So just be very careful there to try and keep things calm. Don't engage in domination and trying to control your tongue during that time. And there can be potential for trouble with the stomach, a lot of acid in the stomach, so you'd be wise to stay away from too much spicy food. And also there's potential for accidents in the home and danger through fire or boiling water in the home during that first 6 months of 2014. So that is a bit of a wrap-up for you, Cancer, for the immediate now and the immediate future as far as that's concerned. But I can do a lot more for you with doing horoscope number 2. Many times I'm happy to do that free of charge. It's normally $20. And there's horoscope number 3 as well, which I can go into a lot more as far as the predictive side of life is concerned for you with horoscope number 3. But there's a few things that I'll explain to you now about where to go from here. Well, now that I've gone through all of that area of your houses where the planets have been sitting and everything, where to go from here? Just a little bit of an epilogue here to help you to understand how you can go on with the job now that you've been exposed to this type of understanding and expanded your understanding a little bit further. I want to help you to become more of who you really are, and to take full advantage of the science of astrology and the science of meditation. Meditation is a wonderful science, and by practicing meditation you can keep yourself youthful, and you can program to all the events of your life to occur more in accordance and compliance with your will, your conscious choice, more so than your subconscious will or your subconscious choice. And these events happen in your life most of the time by subconscious choices, according to your attitudes and beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings and your decisions and your choices. They're your raw materials, and you bring those raw materials into events and conditions in your life through your desire, your imagination and your expectation. Well, I want to help you to clean out those emotions and to clarify your thinking so that your beliefs and your attitudes are not your enemies and not creating negativities in your life. So therefore, I'm going to be sending you some printed pages of my out of my book, What Really Matters, which covers the science of meditation and reincarnation and astrology, and in simple terms that you'll be able to relate to. And you can read them if you wish, and you can then also become more of who you really are by getting the audio version of my book and listening to that and over and over again, getting that sort of knowledge and understanding into yourself. And I'm happy to do a lot of work for you also by doing your horoscope number 2. If you're keen to learn, I'm happy to do your horoscope number 2, which is normally $20. I'm happy to do that for you free of charge. So I'm happy to help you and encourage you to expand your consciousness. My material will lead you into deeper understanding about yourself and about how you can become more of who you really are, and how you can create your reality more in accordance and compliance with your conscious choice and your conscious will, and become more financially independent, more successful in your work, happier in relationships, and so on and so forth. So I thank you for your attentiveness here, and I look forward to working further with you should you desire to go on into my teachings and become more of the giant that you truly are. God and Goddess love you and know your name, and they want you to become more of who you really are. Thank you.